Hello guys and welcome to the channel. In this video, I am going to introduce you to a very interesting project called as LlamaDuo. It's a research project which aims to bring in high availability when it comes to LLM operations. LlamaDuo is an LLM pipeline that enables the seamless migration of knowledge and capabilities from cloud-based proprietary large language models to smaller locally manageable models. In other words, for example, if you are running an API based model such as GPT-4o or Anthropic's Claude or Mistral or any other, maybe from Google's Gemini, and for some reason you want to make sure that if those cloud based models become unavailable or some sort of regulations hit you, you could seamlessly migrate your workloads to some local models. Now, this project seems very stringent around Google's project and all that stuff. Maybe you can use OpenAI, but I believe the good thing which is happening in this project is that the idea is quite cool. I would even say that in terms of high availability and redundancy, you can simply have a larger model and then you can have a smaller service model which could just be used as a placeholder or as a backup of your bigger model. For example, if you are using something like Llama 3.1 70 billion or 450 billion locally hosted and then it just goes out of service, maybe you could move your critical workloads to Llama 3.1 8 billion on another server where you could just service it somehow until you get your original primary LLM backend service. So that is a very common requirement in operations, especially when it comes to the servers and databases where you have a primary database or a primary server, and then you have maybe an active passive or active active setup where you have a secondary database or a secondary server. As your primary goes down, the secondary takes over. It could be automatic failover, or it could be manual failover, or it could be maybe you just want to do the switchover just to do some maintenance on your primary LLM. So instead of waiting for something to happen, you just do the switchover in case of maintenance, and then that could be also possible. So that is where I'm coming from, that this LlamaDuo gives us a lot of good ideas, and I think it's a very good business use case. If you're looking for a business idea in terms of AI, this could be one. Happy to provide you more advice on that one, by the way. Anyway, so LlamaDuo, as I said, is an LLMOps pipeline that enables this seamless migration of knowledge and capabilities. The pipeline addresses challenges such as operational dependencies, privacy concerns, and internet connectivity requirements associated with cloud-based LLMs. So it just is fixated on cloud-based LLMs like OpenAI, Anthropic, as I mentioned earlier. So what they are doing here is LlamaDuo fine-tune the small model, such as maybe Gamma 2 or something like that, against a service LLM. Service LLM mean any LLM hosted in the cloud like OpenAI or Cloud, and it fine tunes this smaller model using a synthetic dataset generated by the later. So synthetic dataset means a dataset which is generated by a model instead of humans, and it is just generated by a model. So we get the actual model, the service LLM from cloud base to generate a synthetic data set, and then we fine tune the model, the smaller model on it, so that whenever the time comes for replacement, the smaller model will be having some sort of capabilities of the service LLM. If the fine-tuned model's performance is subpar, it is further fine-tuned with additional similar data created by the service LLM. So it's an iterative process. And this iterative process ensures a smaller model can match or surpass the service LLM's capabilities in specific downstream tasks. Also, they have done some experiments and they have shown that in the paper, that where they have shown the effectiveness, adaptability, and affordability of LlamaDuo across various tasks. The pipeline also offers a practical solution for managing AI deployments in constrained environments. Plus, it's an efficient and affordable. I'm not sure if it is affordable, but it is still good enough way to have a redundancy. Also, I think this method of transferring the capabilities of large language models like GPT-4o to smaller local models that can run without internet connectivity is quite interesting. But as I said, they are focusing on this internet outage, but I'm focusing on even the infrastructure outage, hardware outage. Even if the service LLM is hosted, the bigger model is hosted locally. Anyway, so this proposed pipeline, as you can see on your screen, a fine-tuned smaller model using synthetic data generated by larger models, enabling them to match or surpass the performance of larger models in specific tasks. There are a lot of other things which we can do about it, because LLMs just don't exist in isolation. Um, because we integrate our applications with it, we do the RAG pipeline. So for example, if LLM is working on the back end, we also need to make sure that we have our redundancy implemented in the RAG pipeline. We have redundancy also ensured within the RAG pipeline, like whatever the vector store there is, if that vector store is redundant or not. And then what about our embedding model, what about our re-ranker retrieval? So there is a lot of stuff involved when we are looking to the redundancy. We can't just make one thing redundant and then there are a lot of other single point of failure. So if you are working in a production environment, you already know how difficult it is, that where you have your servers, you have databases, you have application servers, you have your application itself, then there are some other stuff happening. And that is why we got to introduce with Kubernetes, because Kubernetes is an orchestration framework where you have front end services, back end services, auxiliary services with a lot of redundancy, self-healing capabilities, and because everything is running in deployment. And I personally believe that if you're looking to implement LLM in your production environment, uh, I would highly suggest you look at some of the Kubernetes setup where you would just create a deployment out of it, including your stateful databases like vector stores, or and you can just put your LLMs behind some sort of ingress controller, and then you would serve your traffic in a proper way, in a redundant way, self-healing way through that Kubernetes cluster. Because I think that Kubernetes is a match made in heaven for these sort of applications. So I mean, if I would not really go with this LlamaDuo sort of thing where you will have a smaller model mimicking your larger model, because yes, we can fine tune it on some of the tasks, but what about scaling? Smaller model would never have that sort of capabilities like larger model. Otherwise, why would we have the larger model in first place? So I think if the goal is to have redundant stuff in case of any outage, including the internet outage, then yes, I think we should be dealing with tools like Kubernetes orchestration. But that is just my 2 cents. But I think for a simple use case where you want to just have a secondary LLM, this sort of setup might make sense. But open for debate. Happy to hear your opinion on it. Let me know what do you think. If you like the content, please consider subscribing to the channel. If you're already subscribed, please share it among your network as it helps a lot. Thanks for watching.